This is Daredevil, a character that's supposed to be gritty, dark, and dead serious in the late 90s. And this is Deadpool, the guy who literally has a reputation for being one of the funniest, most irreverent characters in all of Marvel. But here's the thing, Daredevil is funny. Deadpool, not so much. Now, you might be thinking, how can Daredevil be funnier than Deadpool? After all, Deadpool's entire character revolves around humor, breaking the fourth wall, and cracking jokes every chance he gets.
That guy knows what I'm talking about. His clothes say middle management, but his eyes say fucky.
Meanwhile, Daredevil is known for his tortured soul, brutal fight scenes, and a moral code that's as inflexible as his senses. But that's the point. Daredevil's humor works because it's unexpected, and more importantly, it's subtle. It's not that he's constantly cracking jokes, but when humor does slip in, it feels natural. It's the contrast between his serious world and those rare light moments that makes the humor land. On the flip side, Deadpool, his constant barrage of jokes can feel forced, like the writers are trying too hard to make you laugh. Let's start with Deadpool. Don't get me wrong, the first Deadpool movie was a breath of fresh air in the superhero genre. It was raw, raunchy, and didn't take itself seriously. Ryan Reynolds made the character iconic, no doubt. But here's the issue. Deadpool's humor, while fun at first, wears thin quickly because there's no moderation. It's like being stuck in a room with someone who's constantly trying to be the funniest person in the room. Deadpool doesn't let the audience breathe. He's making jokes during fight scenes, after fight scenes, during emotional moments. There's never a pause. And when everything is treated as a joke, nothing feels special. The humor becomes repetitive, predictable, and even the most die-hard Deadpool fans can start to feel fatigued. Contrast this with Daredevil. His humor doesn't come from cramming in a punchline every 5 seconds. Instead, it comes from his relationships, his interactions with his supporting cast, and the rare moments where the tension breaks. Here's what makes Daredevil funny. Relatability. Sure, Matt Murdock is a blind vigilante with heightened senses, but at his core, he's just a guy trying to get through life in a brutal world. His humor often comes from the absurdity of his situation, or from his human connections with people like Foggy or Karen Page. Take this scene, for example. It's funny not because Matt is trying to be a comedian, but because of the irony in the conversation. Foggy's lightheartedness contrasts perfectly with Matt's seriousness, and the subtle, dry humor sneaks up on you. You can feel the real friendship between them, and that's what makes it work. Daredevil's humor is earned through character interaction, not shoehorned into every available moment. In Deadpool's case, we don't get those kinds of genuine interactions as often. Yes, he has moments with supporting characters like Weasel or Blind Al, but their humor is often as over-the-top as Deadpool's. Everyone is playing the same comedic role, which doesn't give you the contrast or balance needed for humor to hit in a deeper way. Subtlety is a key part of why Daredevil's humor is more effective. It's almost a throwaway part of his character, something that slips in naturally, often through Matt's dry wit or his sardonic outlook on his situation. The writers don't have to beat you over the head with jokes because Daredevil's world is already so intense that the occasional humor feels refreshing. Here's a perfect example. Matt makes a joke, but it's so subtle you almost miss it. It's not a laugh out loud moment, but it brings a smile to your face because it feels real. It's not a quip written into the script just for the sake of it. It's a part of his personality. Deadpool, on the other hand, is the opposite of subtle. His humor is loud, it's brash, and it's everywhere. When everything's a joke, when every scene has a punchline, there's no space for anything to resonate. Sure, there are some standout jokes, but many of them get lost in the sea of constant gags. And that brings me to the core difference between Daredevil and Deadpool when it comes to humor, character depth. Matt Murdock is a complex character who carries the weight of his choices, his trauma, and his responsibilities. His humor feels more profound because it's so rare. When Matt finally cracks a smile or delivers a line of dry humor, it feels like a release for both the character and the audience. It's not just funny, It's meaningful. It contrasts the heavy weight he carries and allows us to see a more human side of him. We feel for Matt when he's struggling, and those moments of humor allow us to connect with him on a deeper level. Deadpool's humor, on the other hand, doesn't add layers to the character. His jokes are constant, yes, but they don't evolve him as a person. Deadpool is always Deadpool. There's no real growth, no arc of self-awareness or emotional evolution. His humor doesn't deepen our understanding of who he is, it just keeps us entertained in the moment, but it doesn't stay with you once the joke is over. Another key point is the importance of contrast. Comedy often works best when it's placed against something serious. Deadpool's world, while full of violence, is never serious. Everything in his universe is played for laughs, which undercuts the impact of his jokes. It's like watching a cartoon where the stakes never feel real because we know that nothing truly matters. Now compare that to Daredevil. Matt Murdock's world is dark. It's gritty. The stakes feel real, so when a moment of humor slips through, it feels more potent. It breaks the tension in just the right way. The contrast between the seriousness of the story and the rare humor makes the comedy hit harder. That's something Deadpool's writers seem to forget. When everything is a joke, then nothing stands out. With Daredevil, humor works because it's not the focus. It's a byproduct of character dynamics, of real tension, and of situations where humor feels earned. Lastly, let's talk about balance. Deadpool exists in a space where drama and humor are almost at odds. Every time the film tries to be dramatic, it quickly undercuts itself with a joke. Deadpool's vulnerability is often treated as just another opportunity for a punchline. And while that's fun for a while, it doesn't create the lasting impact a character like Daredevil has. With Daredevil, the drama is the show's core, and the humor is woven in carefully to provide relief. It's the balance between the two that makes Daredevil feel more nuanced. His world isn't designed for comedy, and that's why, when humor slips in, it feels right. It feels real. So why is Daredevil funnier than Deadpool? It all comes down to moderation, subtlety, and character depth. Daredevil doesn't try to be funny all the time, which is exactly why his humor works. The moments of levity in his story feel like a breath of fresh air in an otherwise dark and gritty world. Deadpool, on the other hand, drowns us in jokes, and in doing so, his humor loses its impact. In the end, Daredevil's humor is subtle, relatable, and serves to deepen his character, while Deadpool's humor, while entertaining, often overwhelms the character and the story itself. But that's just my take. What do you think? Do you find Deadpool funnier, or do you think Daredevil has the edge when it comes to humor? Let me know in the comments below, and don't forget to like and subscribe for more takes on your favorite superheroes. See you next time.